And running with you, I'm Matt. Welcome in on this Friday. Good gracious alive, you have made it to Friday. I tell you what, on Fridays, you like me? You just kind of feel better about things on Fridays. It's like, you shouldn't go through life always trying to reach the next benchmark, but hey, the next rung on the ladder is always Friday. Get to Friday. And you got a weekend ahead of you. Welcome in on this Friday. And I hope you'll be a part of the show today. A lot to get into with you. Call me, text me. You can also comment on the live stream. It is live. You're looking at the old Skinny Matt picture. It's got all the sponsors on there, people who support the show, and it's got a picture of Skinny Matt. I got to get back to Skinny Matt, I think. I'll feel better if my body's in shape. I like my face better fat, but hey, look, give or take. You got to pick one of the other. You got to pick one or the other, right? But it is live, yeah. So you can be a part of the show that way. Drop me a comment. Sven over in Germany was actually the first to comment here. He's in on YouTube, and he said, "Hail State, everyone. After LSU, he says, our Lady Bulldogs grinded Kentucky down and went 2-0 for the week. It's a nice free-for-all Friday and one night more, and we're going to have baseball back." And I don't know if you realize it, but like I say, I think it's what, 2 weeks from today? Am I right? Yeah, I think it's 2 weeks to today from the start of college baseball season. All of that and more with you. Now, really quick, you can text me, you can call me, right? Here today, live in the Bureau, the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance all across the great state of Mississippi. Your hometown heroes, that's your local Farm Bureau Insurance agents. It's time, top of the show, for headlines.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
Headlines! Brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage and Went McGee, the Mortgage Man. Visit them online at mortgagemanms.com. Locations in Ridgeland and now in Starkville, Oxford, and Tupelo. They got $1.5 million allocated just to help first-time home buyers. When that money's gone, it's gone, so make sure you take advantage. Go see him. Went McGee, mortgagemanms.com. Yeah, all right, Sven. So headline number one, State and Ole Miss both picked up women's basketball wins. State went on the road to Kentucky. Heck of a ball game. And got it done last night in overtime, actually. Ole Miss, they went on the road to Vanderbilt. In fact, every road team in SEC women's basketball won their games last night. Headline number two. Now, this is one that old-timers will remember, but I remember his name because I heard folks in Alabama used to talk about him. Terry Beasley, former Auburn star receiver. He was a number one target for Pat Sullivan the year that Pat Sullivan won the Heisman at Auburn. Terry Beasley has passed away overnight, and he was 73. Details on that story coming up. So he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. That's Terry Beasley, former Auburn receiver, passed away overnight. He was 73 years old. A New Mexico State basketball player got ejected for throwing a haymaker and punching a guy in the face. They were playing Liberty. And he just hauled off and punched him. It was not like in a fight, nothing like that. Like he's running by and just bam! Well, I don't know what was said, but more on that coming up as well. And I got a fourth headline for you here today, just that's the stuff that's out there. The NFL has done a study about whether there are more injuries on natural grass versus the artificial. You know, players complain about the artificial surfaces. And everybody does, for that matter. A joint committee has looked into it, and they have found that NFL injuries are the same on artificial surfaces as they are on natural grass. And so the data that they had there was collected by that committee, and they looked into it because of all the complaints. But all of their data came back that there is no difference in the rate or number or frequency of injury on natural grass versus that of artificial surfaces. Those are some of your headlines here to start the show today. Brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage and Went McGee, the Mortgage Man. Visit him online at mortgagemanms.com. Let's see how good old pal Beeve is doing on a Friday. Hey, B.
Hey, Matt Wyatt.
Man, it's good to hear your voice.
Well, thank you.
You know, Beaver, are you like me that you get to Friday and it just feels different, it just hits different?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Especially today.
Okay, especially today, yeah. Because this is it, right?
Yep. And it already started off so positively because AMC at 10 a.m. began running a Groundhog Day marathon. It's going to run till 1 a.m.
Yeah. That's great.
Oh, I wish you would have actually started your show. All right. Rise and shine, campers. Put on your booties because it's cold outside.
Well, put your little hand in mine.
Yeah.
Sonny and Sherry. Yeah, I should have. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, it's Groundhog's Day. Wait a minute. Is it Groundhog Day or Groundhogs plural day?
Just one.
Just one. The one.
Punxsutawney Phil. The one. The groundhog.
Okay, so here's a pop quiz for you, Beaver. Spell Punxsutawney. I couldn't do it if you made me. I get in the ballpark. So, okay, here's the deal, though, Beaver. Annabeth and I, we were up early this morning. We watched online the live stream of up in, what is it, Gobbler's Knob, Pennsylvania? Yeah. And the big scene, and they're out there in their coats and top hats, and they pull the groundhog out and go, Punxsutawney Phil, and they hold him up, and all the crowds. And that poor groundhog's like looking at this crowd of people, and they're all screaming. And it's just, he's like, he has no idea what's going on, right? We watched that, but I came away from it going, that's it? Like, he didn't really do anything. It's made up, pretty much. I don't know how he chose which scroll he was going to read from that they had on the table up there. But you buy into the whole groundhog knows whether we're going to have weather or not? I mean,
no, not at all. Not at all. But I've always wanted, and it's because of that movie, of course. Yeah. I've always wanted to go be a part of that whole deal. I'd just like to witness it.
Yeah, to see it. I'm kind of like you. It would be neat to see it. And it's a huge crowd that they had out there. Like, even before the sun came up, they made kind of a party out of it. I think they had live music leading up to it and everything. Yeah, so y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what they decided was, the groundhog did not see his shadow. And so we're going to have an early spring, I think.
Yep.
That's what they said. Well, see, it's kind of appropriate for here because I looked up this morning, Beaver, and because Mary Lydia was, asking me what the temperature was going to be today. That usually determines like what she wears to school. And I said, well, it says here that, it was like 37 degrees this morning. And I said, but it's getting up to 70. And I want to tell you now, you start letting it ring that 7 number, 70 something with sunshine, and tell me that I'm 2 weeks away from the start of college baseball season, then for me, winter is way in the rearview mirror by now. And whether it officially is or not, it's in the rear view mirror. Sven is over there. I guess the sun's down. It's nighttime over in Berlin, and he says it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit over there. Yeah. Danny says, hey, he's on the Murray West Live thread. He's in Ringgold, Georgia. 2 G's. Now we're at 60 degrees today. Really nice. You bet it is now. I mean, it is nice. Well, anyhow, here we go. Off and running with you on this Friday. So kind of a free-for-all Friday. Anything goes. Whatever you want to get into is cool with me. Happy to talk about it with you and see what you have to say. I don't know where this comes from, but White Denzel, he's got me looking at something here. It says, let's put you to a test, Matt. What year was this lineup? Okay, this is the Braves starting lineup. Apparently, he's watching a classic Braves game somewhere, and it's a part where they show the baseball diamond, and they have all the names, at their position around the diamond. And White Denzel wants me to go through this and just based on the names of who's starting and where, decide what year it is. Well, you know what? Okay, since it is 2 weeks from the start of college baseball, why not? 70 degrees, the sun's out. Why not? So, this particular lineup, you know what? I might even be able to go through the lineup, Denzel, and tell you what order they were hitting in. How about that? Okay. Batting leadoff in center field for the Braves, Kenny Lofton, playing center field. He's the leadoff hitter. Batting second, playing second base, Mark Lemke. Batting third base, that'd be Chipper Jones. In the cleanup spot, your first baseman, Fred McGriff. In the 5 hole, that'd be shortstop Jeff Blauser batting 5th. Batting 6th, playing left field for your Atlanta Braves, Ryan Klesko. 6th, yeah. Batting 7th in the lineup, he's your catcher, Javi Lopez. 8th out and right, Tucker. I don't know who Tucker is. And tonight, batting 9th, and your pitcher on the mound, is it Denny Nagel? Yeah, Denny Nagel. All right, so Denzel, with Javi, but the giveaways to me are the fact that you got Blauser at short, you got Lemke at second still, you got Javi Lopez behind a plate, and Kenny Lofton in center. So I'm going to go with 97. I'm going to go with 97.
I'm going to go 96.
Okay, Beaver's going 96. Who is it? Who's right, Denzel? Beaver's got 96. I got 97. Beaver, were you kind of, as I was going through the lineup, were you kind of with me on where they were hitting in the lineup?
Now, that I can't tell you.
Okay, all right.
I just, these names, man, they just bring back memories from a time when I did not have a problem with the Braves.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Fred McGriff, Kenny Lofton, that's what kind of gives it away.
Uh-huh.
It's definitely mid-90s.
Yeah. Okay, Sven on the Murray West live thread, he said Chipper played from 93 to 2009. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously he can't be the giveaway, but he's guessing 1999. Okay, you've got 96. I've got 97. Sven's going 99. And I do have to admit that when I first glanced at it, just kind of glanced at it, I saw Lopez behind the plate. I kind of almost blurted out 98. I think 97. Now, I'm going to need the correct answer. Denzel, I don't know if you... Nick is also guessing 97 because he says all you had to do was say Lofton. RT texted the show in the Country Pleasing text line. It is open. You can text me. 885-3776. 601 number. 601-885-3776. Another way to remember the text line is 885-ESPN. You can also call the show. Get to hear your voice on the Davini Equipment phone line. Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson, your Kubota dealer. The oldest Kubota dealer in the U.S., in fact, means they've been doing better longer than anyone else right here at home at Davini. The number to call, 897-1059. That's a 601 number, 897-1059. Well, look there. The correct answer is 1997. How about that? I'm feeling pretty good about that now, but you should too, Beaver. We were right on it. Of course, Finn in the ballpark too. All right, let's see here. PT for MSU with something out of nowhere. What is that, Beaver? How do I even say that? He said, Matt, did you ever eat at Ralph and the what? The cuckoos? Like a bird? What is a cuckoo? Ralph and the Cuckoos back in the day. No, I didn't PT for MSU as far as I know. He says, I'm only aware of 2 of them still open. I'm sitting here on my lunch break enjoying some shrimp etouffee with my dad that my dad made out in their cookbook last night, out of their cookbook. Just wanted to brag on the old man. I bet it is good. A little homemade. You know, this actually is a pretty cool exercise that I had no earthly idea that we might get into. And since I didn't prepare, y'all could help me out. Denzel, if you've got any more of those handy. RT says, let's do another team lineup and guess. All right, so give me just a second here, and I'll pull one up. And I'm going to give you the lineup, and you tell me which year that this was your oh goodness. Okay, so that's a roster. All right, hold on. We'll do opening day. Okay? So we'll do an opening day lineup. If I can find it. and I'll throw some at you. And you can tell me what year. All right. Hold on. Okay. All right. So, and since Denzel, you kicked this off. Now, this is a lot of fun. It is for me when you show up for a radio show and somebody listening to the show has a much more fun idea than you came here with. All right. That's where I am right now. Now, the other thing I am is if I had been prepared, I'd know a little sooner where my retro Atlanta Braves intro is. But I happen to have found it. Okay, since Denzel started it, I happen to be 1-0. I got the first one right. Beaver was within 1 year of it. RT wants to do another one. So here it is, and I'll kick it off with the old retro Braves intro on TBS. Here we go.
Superstation TBS presents the Atlanta Braves.
Oh, you know you like it.
Team. Atlanta Braves baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beer. This Bud's for you.
And then who was
by
it?
the official airline of the Atlanta Braves, Delta.
Okay.
We love to fly.
So here you go, RT.
And by Eckerd Drugs.
Oh, I forgot.
America's family drugstore.
Doesn't that sound good? Okay, here you go. Starting lineup for these Atlanta Braves. Catching for the Braves, Johnny Estrada. At first base, Adam LaRoche. At second base, Marcus Giles. At third, Chipper Jones. Your shortstop, Rafael Furcal. Out in left field, Charles Thomas. In right field, J.D. Drew. And in center, Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If you are the first to text me the correct answer, that lineup for the Atlanta Braves, what year it was, if you're the first to text me the correct answer, I'm going to send you something. I don't know what I'm going to send you, but I'm going to send you something. The first to text me on the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves all around the Southeast. The number to text, 885-3776. 601 number, 885-3776. We have a winner. You ready for this? We have a winner. It's Nick. Yeah, Nick got it. It's 2004. Oh, man, and look, I will say this. Sven had it first. He got it right first, but he's over on the Murray West live thread, and I said the answer had to come on the text line. So, you know, that's on me, Sven. PT for MSU was close. He had it within one. He guessed 05, but it was 04. Yeah, remember because you had and your starting pitchers, the guys who made the most appearances on the mound for the Atlanta Braves that year in 2004, Paul Byrd. How about that? From the mound to the microphone. Paul Byrd, Mike Hampton, Russ Ortiz, John Thompson, with no P, John Thompson, and Jarrett Wright. Those were your pitchers in 2004. That was fun. You know what? Doggone. That's just too easy, isn't it? Let's try another one. And here's the deal. All right, here's the deal. You could go on and on and on and on with this and get it wrong. Catching for your Atlanta Braves. What year is this? Catching for your Atlanta Braves. Damon Berryhill. At first, Sid Bream. At second, Mark Lemke. At third, Terry Pendleton. Your shortstop, Jeff Blauser. In left, Ron Gant. Center field, Otis Nixon. And in right, David Justice. Your four-man rotation, Avery, Glavine, Maddox, and Smoltz. What year is that? Nope, not that one either. I'll give you the right answer when we come back. Stick around. Y'all heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. Say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough. If you need your logo printed, embroidered, sewn on to anything, custom apparel and other stuff, make sure you go there. Murray West, you can find them online. MurrayWest.com. That's MURRY West.com.
I'm Eddie Holcomb with Washington County Farm Bureau Insurance.
I'm Scott Rainwater with Farm Bureau Insurance here in Washington County.
I'm Blake Policini with Washington County Farm Bureau.
I'm Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
I think you know what time it is. It's time to eat. Country pleasing, jalapeno and cheddar, green onion. And no, it's not a grill, see that? But the fire is just about burnt down enough where it's time to put some of this on there. And the only decision when it comes to country pleasing sausage is which flavor, jalapeno and cheddar or maybe green onion. Both.
Break me off a piece of that.
Look at that. You know what that is? That's real green onion. Like that monkey who set his tail on a railroad track. It won't be long now. Country Pleasing sausage, these flavors, and many, many others. Get them online at countrypleasing.com. At a grocery store near you, pretty much anywhere in the Southeast. Walk up in there and say, Country Pleasing, please. They'll know what you're talking about.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have.
All right, that was 93. See, and Nick, you were on top of that one too. You said at first, I think you said what, 92? I said 91, right? You said 91, and you say it went too quick. Got to be 93 or 94. It was 93. That particular one was 93, but really it could have been. I guess it could have been 94 also. But yeah. 93. Sven was within one. He had 92. And then at first he said 91 or 92. What did RT say? Yeah, he guessed 92 also. He thought that was the 92 Braves. Welcome back. We did a starting lineup. White Denzel started something today. He sent me the 1997 starting lineup for the Braves. Nailed it. And now everybody else wants to try. Let's see. Now here's one for you. See, I'm wondering how easy this is. The one I'm about to do now is for state. Here's a Mississippi State baseball starting lineup. And it's like, I wonder if this is too easy. Okay. Here you go. At first base, Richard Lee. At third base, Adam Pyatt. At second base, Rob Oswalt. Shortstop, Brad Freeman. Behind the plate, Barry Patton. 3 outfielders, Brooks Bryan. You know what? Actually, Pyatt was in this particular year. Let me go back. This particular year, Pyatt moved to the outfield and Travis Chapman played third base. So in the outfield, Pyatt, Brooks Bryan, and kind of a mix between Damian Cieno and Brian Weiss. And your top 2 starting pitchers on this particular state team, Eric Dubose and Jeremy Jackson, both lefties. Your closer that year was Van Johnson. What state lineup is that? What state lineup is that? You want me to do it again? Is this good radio or bad? Whatever, look. It's fun. No, Sven, you're too early. On the Murray West live thread, he went, way back. Okay, RT is going to use. RT is using Richard Lee, who was a great hitter, to sort of try to figure out the ballpark. Pun. So again, here it is. Richard Lee at first. Second base, Rob Oswalt. Shortstop, Brad Freeman. Third base, Travis Chapman. Outfielders, Brooks Bryan, Adam Pyatt, and Cieno and Weiss. Behind the plate, Barry Patton. Top 2 starters, Eric Dubose and Jeremy Jackson. Your closer, Van Johnson. Other pitchers on that staff, Hank Toms, Matt Ginner, Keith Dilgard, Chris Reineke. Who is it? Look at that. Nick got it again. Nick has gotten every one of them right. I believe it's 1997. That's the 19. Yeah, and Chuck, he got it as well. Chuck on the Murray West live thread, he said that sounds like 97. Yeah, 97. And it would have been about the same in 98, right? And because help me out here. What changed about 97 and 98? I have to go back and look it up maybe because, those were back-to-back College World Series teams for State. And the fixtures were like Freeman at short, Travis Chapman, Brian Weiss, Brooks Bryan. And I'm wondering, did they add and in the next year, DuBose was gone, right? Because 97 was DuBose's senior year, or last year at State. But did they add John Knott in 98, or did he come around in like 99? So I couldn't remember that either. I don't remember that either. See, Nick said, Brooks is my guy. Talking about Brooks Bryan, we've played a lot of golf together. Tell the truth, Nick, did Brooks text you and say, hey, that was 97? Did you get it from him? RT's enjoying it. I know that much. He said this is the best radio ever. Okay, so if we go back and we do, so that was 97. If we go back and do 98, State's roster in 98, and again, they were back-to-back College World Series teams. So from 97 to 98, you had, Richard Lee both years at first, Freeman both years at short, Chapman both years at third, Brian Weiss both of those years, 97, 98, a part of it in the outfield, and he pitched some also. Patton was the catcher both years, Brooks Bryan on both those teams. And you know what? They did. Okay, so they did add John Knott to the 98 team. He was not there in 97. He came along in 98. Another one who had a bunch of at-bats on both those teams in 97, 98 was Dustin Dabbs. But Knott came onto the team in 98. And that first year, played in the outfield, batted .243 with 13 home runs. So, shows up, and he's third on the team in home runs right off the bat. Richard Lee led him in home runs that year with 19. How about Brad Freeman that year in 98? So the guy who's going to referee in the Super Bowl, okay, in a little over a week, that year in 98, your shortstop, Brad Freeman, I'm not sure. I think he spent some time batting leadoff in that lineup. Anyway, he batted .355 that year with 11 home runs. Stole 16 bases, which tied for the team lead with Rusty Toms. Drew 43 walks, 10 more than the closest guy after that. 11 home runs, 4 triples, and 15 doubles. He went off that year in 98. They added Lauterhaus to the team. And you're right. So when they went to 98, you didn't have DuBose, and everybody wondered. I mean, you lose your ace, right? Wasn't he a first-round pick? And so your starters, Jeremy Jackson, Ginter stepped up, had a good year. Chris Reineke, Freed started some. I can't remember which one of those guys was more midweek than anything else. And then Van Johnson was your closer in 98 as well. Hank Toms pitched. Brian Compton, Scott Polk, Kevin Donovan, and a bunch of those guys in 98. So, slight change. Most of the team was still together, like your infield. But from 97 to 98, you lost Pyatt. He became a major leaguer. You lost DuBose. He became a major leaguer, obviously. But pretty much everybody else back in on the deal. I love looking back at that stuff. I didn't know I was going to do that today until White Denzel got it all kicked off. It was fun. All right. RT texts the show. Country Pleasing text line. He said, Pete Young coaches my son in travel ball. He says, Richard Lee hit a ball against me. It's still going. Matt Peoples, Matt Duff on my travel team. Duff called me Turbo for lack of speed. Duff was the best. You know, RT, listen, so you were slow, you got called Turbo. You know, it's like a big guy named Tiny, right? Like a fat guy named Slim. I get it. But for whatever reason, baseball kind of has always given out the best nicknames. Not always an opposite nickname. I got tickled listening to Coach Polk telling the story about some guy on their team at State. I don't know if it was late 80s, whatever it was, but they had some guy on their team, and you know, Coach Polk described it as the guy had sort of a knack for being on the ground. You know, a pop up, he's going to end up on the ground. Ground ball, diving for everything. Run to first base, trip over the bag. So he's always falling and rolling, flipping and somersault and diving and sliding. And so they named him Combat. You know, yeah, and just named him Combat. I'd love to know more about those nicknames. It's fascinating. On the Murray West live thread, go to murraywest.com. Contract embroidery right here in the state of Mississippi. Homegrown since 1996, kind of going back to this era that we're talking about here. And they do a fantastic job. Ask just about any high school athletics department in the state of Mississippi. Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, Prairie Wildlife, they all send their embroidery for shirts and hats and gear and everything else to Murray West, and you should too, for whatever it is. And check them out online at murraywest.com. Jerry is on Twitter/X. He says, Eric Dubose was a heck of a pitcher. I saw him pitch in Memphis. He really was. You know, he might have even been like the last real, sure enough, just workhorse. Would throw tons of pitches and tons of innings. Big, strong, left-handed guy. 90 plus, just mowing them down. First round pick, you know, pitched in the majors for the Orioles. And honestly, one of the most laid back, nicest, good guys you could ever get to know. And Eric's doing a lot of coaching and has done a lot of coaching. He's a firm believer in the Lord Jesus, and he'll tell you about it. Eric Dubose is one of those guys, we're close to the same age, but I look up to him. All right. Baseball today, huh? Let's do it. Stick around.
Now's the time to get a great deal on proven Kubota farming equipment. Tractors that are adaptable first.
I was born and raised in Greenville. I've always called Greenville home. This is where I, was raised, went to high school, graduated high school, worked all my life here leading up to going to college. So even when I moved from Greenville, I always told people, they asked me where you're from, I always said I'm from Greenville. I have mother, father, brother, niece, aunt, all live here in Greenville. So this is home. This is where I, live, and I've just always called it home. Small town, I feel like I could walk in any place tomorrow and know 2 to 3 people in there. It's small town. Someone's on the side of the road broken down. Hey, you need a boost, flat tire, you need help changing it. That's just kind of, what I love about this area. The blues and the food and everything that comes along with the Mississippi Delta that I love. I tell people all the time, my business cards have my cell phone number on them for a reason. Insurance doesn't happen from 8 to 5. When you need me, it's going to be after 5. It hardly ever happens where you have a wreck, get pulled over, need an insurance card, wind blows, shingles off your roof. All these things happen, and it's typically after 5. And so the ability for someone to call me, get in contact with me, text me, ask me a question, and that's what it's about to me, is helping the people that we serve, is taking care of people and them knowing that they can count on me whenever they need me. I am Brian Street with Farm Bureau Insurance in Washington County, and we are your home team.
Y'all have heard me talk about Murray West and MurrayWest.com. They made the hat that I'm wearing. Got the Natchez Trace logo on it. I've told you a little bit about what they are. Contract embroidery company here in Mississippi. Started back in 1996, family owned. They do a phenomenal job, and I got to go visit their place up in New Albany. Let me show you a little bit about it. I say they do quality stuff. They really do. And so custom apparel, team stuff, I mean, really and truly, just about every high school in the state is sending their embroidered, team gear, jackets, shirts, hats, stuff. Baseball teams, football teams, they're sending it to the folks at Murray West in New Albany. You go to their website, MurrayWest.com, you go to the bottom, you can kind of see some of the Prairie Wildlife, Ole Miss Athletics, Gentile, others that they work with. Can't recommend them enough.
You're going to hear about them all and get to talk about it with Matt Wyatt right here, right now on the Zone 105.9 and worldwide at thezone1059.com.
Back with you, I'm Matt, in the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Yeah, so I mentioned to you this guy for New Mexico State men's basketball. His name's Robert Carpenter. He just hauled off and punched a player for Liberty. They were boxing out, low blocks, shot goes up from the corner, it's bouncing around off the rim. The guy for Liberty, big guy underneath, and it's early in the game. It's like the score was 18-16. The game had just started. And the guy for Liberty is boxing out. He's got position on rebound. So his face and all, he's looking towards the basket for this rebound to come off. And about the time, and he's boxing this guy out, Robert Carpenter, the big guy for New Mexico State. And it is a little physical, but nothing that's unusual. And the ball comes off the rim and goes the other direction to another player. So just as that happened, and they're still boxing out, and the ball's going the other way, in the split second that it's like, okay, it's time to release, and the Liberty player who's boxing out turns to start running up the court, the guy who's getting blocked out, and the ball went away, he just balled his fist up and just blindside, bam, right in the eye socket. The guy for Liberty never saw it coming. Kind of hit him in the eye and the nose all at once. He immediately goes to the court. He's holding his head because it's like, you take a lick like that, you don't see it coming. You're talking about bloody nose at the very least, concussion probably, broken bones at the very worst. And what happened is like there was no even debating it. It's interesting, you watch the replay. So the guy who threw the punch, again, it's early in the game. There's still almost 12 minutes left in the first half. So they haven't been playing long. They blow the whistle. They come out to attend the guy on the floor. The teams immediately kind of go to their benches. The guy who did this for New Mexico State goes to his bench, and the coach there immediately says, let's go to the locker room. And he turned and ran to the locker room, gone. Like it happened just like that. That you didn't even see him again. And I'm sure he'll be suspended. And, it has the look of one of these things where it's, you're playing a physical game. You're down in the low blocks. You're getting boxed out. Who knows if something has been said? I didn't see any context, whatever, but just straight up blindsided him. Ejected from the game, punching forward Shiloh Robinson in the face. Aggies coach Jason Hooten said he anticipates Carpenter will be suspended. Flagrant foul 2, quickly tossed from the game like it took no time. And there's no even debating it, no talking about it, no arguing. It's like he knew as soon as it happened. And just it has the look of something where you got one guy that just, he snapped, and as soon as he did it, he regretted it. So anyway, that was part of your headlines today. Thought I'd give you a few of the details. All right, a couple of texts here on the Country Pleasing text line. Unnamed text. No, I'm sorry. This is Mike. Mike in Madison says, Happy Friday. I read earlier today that the refs in the Super Bowl get paid between $200,000 and $250,000. He said, if that's true, good on you, Brad Freeman. Hail State from Mike in Madison. How about that? $250,000 each? Yeah, how about that? Nice little cherry on top. What do they make for regular NFL games? There's a bunch of those. You call 17 regular season games and some playoff stuff. That's a heck of a living on top of a living, because guys like Brad do something else, not a full-time gig, is it? I'm sure it's not. So may not, some of them may not, that kind of money, may not need to make any else, do anything else. Regarding Eric DuBose, RT said, oh, wait a minute. No. Okay. So are you talking about Pete? See, RT, when you were talking about the Ring of Honor acceptance speech, I didn't know if you were talking about DuBose or somebody else. I was trying to clarify that. All right. And then unnamed texter, different subject altogether. Little football. Told you it's a free-for-all Friday. He says, since anything goes today, can you take a minute and explain pick plays in football? Are they legal or illegal? Do coaches coach the receivers on how to run these routes and block them, even if it is illegal? Or is it okay as long as you do it a certain way? Thanks. This is from Jim. I said I named this from Jim. Yeah, Jim, here's what you need to know about those pick plays. Pick routes. They are designed to do that. It is coached that way so as to be within the rule. And so to basically pick the defender in a legal way, in other words, keep him from being able to run and defend, especially if it's man-to-man, is it's got to be within the context of running a route. Does that make sense? Like you can't block downfield, balls in the air, that sort of thing, right? So as a receiver, let's say I'm the outside receiver, and on the inside, a few feet in there is the other guy. And we got there's two of us, there's two defenders over us. And my job on this pick play, okay, is to go down inside to my left towards the football and effectively pick his defender. Well, what I can't do is just beeline to him and hit him, right? I can't do that. But what I can do is I take a certain angle on my route so that at the very least, he's got to kind of go around me. The other thing I can do too, there are certain type of pick plays where you're basically going to set up, like the receiver's almost going to pivot and turn and get in his way. Well, you can't initiate the contact. You run your route and then you turn your back to him. Where again, he's got to either run into you or go around you. That's it. You're just trying to create space because you know where you're going and they don't. And that's why defensive backs, like in the goal line situations, always coach it up to switch, right? So let's just say, again, it's a two receiver route down here on the goal line. And we're going to run a pick for, let's say the inside receiver is going to pick to the outside. Outside receiver runs a slant underneath that. His defensive back is getting picked, and so maybe I'm open on a slant. Well, those two defenders, They work on it and work on it and work on it. We may have man-to-man called, but if I'm on the inside receiver and he goes out, well, we switch so that we can't get picked down here on the goal line. And there's been a ton of instances where you'll see it's 2-on-2. They've called man-to-man. We're down here in the red zone, whatever, goal line. They run the pick stuff, and one DB tries to switch and the other one doesn't. You're wide open for a touchdown, catch it walking in, and two DBs will be yelling at each other after the play. How many times have you seen that? Well, a lot of times it's because you had pick, play, run. One of them saw it coming, the other one didn't. One tried to switch, or they couldn't communicate because of noise or some other reason. But, it is legal to do it as long as the quote-unquote pick that's taking place is because I'm running my route over there. And as a receiver, I have the right to run my route. And if I get there and I'm running my route and I'm facing this defender, I can't just run into him and knock him off his path. I do have to try to avoid contact, right? I can't just barrel into him or they'll call me for offensive pass interference. But I can kind of get in there and make it hard for him and like move out of the way, make him slow up at the, and then the other guy running the route's got to use that angle of mine to his advantage to get himself open. So, there's a lot that goes into it. There is a lot that goes into it, but yes, to answer your question, it is legal as long as I, as a receiver, don't force any contact, as I show that I'm either running a route or trying to avoid contact. The coaches do tell the receivers how to do it and encourage them to do it in such a way that is legal. So there you go. Help? Does that help? It's a whole lot easier to show you than it is to find the right words to tell you. But it's a whole lot easier to show you. And we'll end the hour on this, and then we're coming back for hour 2. Lots to get into on a free-for-all Friday. Whatever you want to talk about is fine with me. And Jake from Yazoo says, I'm going to rant, he says. Can someone be a reporter and tell the folks what the relationship is with the Bohannon coach at Alabama and the goof placing those bets? In-law, stepbrother, drug dealer. Did that coach have many more goofs placing bets? Investigative journalism is who reads social media first. Yeah, it's about right. Well, yeah, that's a good question. It mentioned in the story, Jake, that guy, Neff, who was up there at the sports book trying to place bets and being dumb about it, that he was a youth coach, youth baseball coach. And that's why I would think that there's probably a relationship there, right? On the surface, that's what I took. Okay, well, it would make sense that a college coach who's recruiting young players would come into contact with youth coaches out there. But maybe there is more to it. I don't know. I do know that hour 1 on this Friday is in the books. A whole lot of baseball in the hour. That was fun. Didn't see that coming. That's fine.
Jerry, was that a bird?
No, just folks banging on the C Spire store window.
I bet they heard we have iPhone 15 Pro.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way. Well, it might do some good, said the wife with a sigh. Guess I'll get some All Bran and give it a try. Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All Bran set their day off right. Yes, All Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-bran cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All Bran, a delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes bran, the cereal that's all bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling, unforgettable and free. Yeah! For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. It's a wing wing. A brand new Transgram fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus 5. $625 worth of extra features at no extra charge from Mazda. You get a bed liner, mud guards, sliding rear window, floor mats, and AM/FM stereo. That's a $625 value at no extra charge. But hurry, offer ends soon.
Discovering a refund tree has grown in your backyard.
I'm the refund tree.
Sawing off its branches.
Hey.
Feeding them through a wood chipper.
My branches! My beautiful branches!
And dancing in its refund rain. Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Get the appliances you need right away at Lowe's. Explore the largest assortment of brands you trust, like Whirlpool, Samsung, and LG, in-store or online at the best values. Plus, take advantage of our everyday financing offers on top items, from refrigerators to laundry pairs. And there's more. Get your new appliances delivered or installed quickly at your convenience. Because Lowe's knows appliances, Lowe's knows home improvement. Subject to credit approval.
Explore bizarre tales in the Very Special Episodes podcast, hosted by Dana Schwartz and friends. Every Wednesday, they'll tackle a new stranger-than-fiction story, like NASA agents cracking down on a black market moon rock trade, a poisoned Titanic cast, and Mark Twain's pivotal bar fight.
That is every single one of these episodes. It is the fodder for you to say, I heard the craziest story on this podcast.
Listen to Very Special Episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
We are good to go.
With more of the Matt Wyatt Show. Coming to you direct and live at the Zone 105.9 and worldwide.
Now, here we go.
At the Zone 105.9.com.
All right, here we go. Back with you. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau Insurance Studio. Hey, so RT, I got your link that you sent me there. And what I did was I pulled that audio that you sent, and I'm going to see if I can find it. Maybe try to play it here in a minute. I mean, if we're going to say that it's a free-for-all Friday and anything goes, then we got to do it, right? So if you send me a link, I've got it there, and those time marks you said, I'm going to go to it. RT is saying it's a great story from Pete Young about playing a little Major League Baseball. So that's coming up. But first, welcome into hour number 2. Thank goodness I got hot coffee from High Point Roasters in New Albany, Mississippi. Check them out at highpointroasters.com. I got headlines coming up brought to you by Went McGee, the mortgage man, Bank of England. We've got plenty of ways for you to be a part of the show. You can comment on the live thread there, the Murray West live thread. I'll get to it. You can text me on the Country Pleasing text line, 885-3776. And the phone lines are open to you. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Number to call, 897-1059. 897-1059. Let's start off with a few headlines. Here we go.
Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world.
Good evening, and welcome to Eyewitness News.
Here's what's making news.
How about that? Headlines brought to you by Went McGee, the mortgage man, and Bank of England Mortgage. You can find them online at mortgagemanms.com. Locations in Ridgeland and now Starkville, Oxford, and in Tupelo. And Bank of England's been allocated up to $1.5 million for a special grant for first-time home buyers. You can get between $8,500 and $20,000 towards the purchase of your first home. Program ends when the funds run out. And there's no repayment as long as you don't sell the house within 5 years. So find them at mortgagemanms.com. So state basketball, women's basketball, they won in overtime last night at Kentucky. So they've won a couple in a row. State's women are now 18-5. They're 5-3 in the conference. How about Jessica Carter playing 42 minutes in that game last night? Had 25 points, 13 rebounds. Had a couple of assists in there as well. And they got a big night from Poe. She went 3 of 8 from 3 and hit a huge one late. State wins the game in overtime on the road and only hit 4 3-pointers as a team. She hit 3 of them. How about that? Ole Miss women, they won on the road at Vandy last night. And maybe closer than some people thought. 67-61 the final. They got 25 out of Davis. She was the leading scorer, led all scorers in the ballgame, and now Ole Miss has improved on the women's side to 16-5. They are 6-2 in the conference, so they still have a one-game lead over State and a few others. Every road team in SEC women's basketball won last night. South Carolina went to Auburn and won. State went to Kentucky and won. Tennessee went to Georgia, road team won. Ole Miss won on the road at Vandy, and Alabama went to Arkansas and beat them by 16. So all the road teams won last night at women's basketball. I mentioned this to you earlier. This is really a sad story. College Football Hall of Famer, former Auburn wide receiver Terry Beasley has passed away at the age of 73. The story on ESPN says Terry Beasley, former Auburn star receiver, College Football Hall of Famer, has died of an apparent suicide, according to police. He was 73 years old, and I think it happened back on Wednesday. Beasley was the number one target, a receiver, for Pat Sullivan the year that Pat Sullivan won the Heisman Trophy at Auburn back in 70. I think he won it in 71, but they played together 70-71. Beasley was always a famous football character and star in the state of Alabama, but he also famously suffered for a long time from the effects of all the concussions that he suffered during his playing career. He is one of only 3 former Auburn players who've had their jerseys retired He wore number 88. It's retired. The other one is his teammate, Pat Sullivan, number 7. They retired it. And then Bo Jackson's 34. So sad story there. Terry Beasley gone at the age of 73. Told you at the end of the first hour, the headline of the New Mexico State player who got ejected last night, he'll be suspended for just hauling off and punching a guy right in the face. Just bam. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a fray. It was just rebounding and ball coming off, and they're about to change possession, and boom, just haul off and hit him. And then also, a joint NFL committee has found that NFL injuries are the same on artificial grass as they are on natural grass. And as much as, you had all the uproar about injuries on artificial turf and the players don't like it, the study that the NFL did, the joint committee, said that this year's injury data also does not explain how quick they are to flip the NFL stadium surfaces from bad synthetic to better grass for international soccer-friendly tournaments. The data collected informed Jeff Miller, NFL's Executive Vice President of Communications Affairs. He lets everybody know they did the study and says, guess what? The injury data is the same. At least that's according to this year's data, passing that along. Because I know we've talked about that too. It seems like every player prefers natural grass over the synthetic. But, if over a long period of time you can't find data that supports the idea that there is, there are more injuries happening on it, even if you feel that way, you got to have something to back it up, right? And if the data doesn't back it up, then just roll with it. Stop complaining, I guess. But anyway, there's some headlines today in Hour 2, brought to you by Bank of England Mortgage. Went McGee, the mortgage man. And go to mortgagemanms.com. All right. So Chuck commented on the Murray West live thread. Go to murraywest.com, contract embroidery company right here in Mississippi. Chuck said, since it's free for all Friday, he says, I'd like to hear the story of how a former MSU quarterback wound up playing American football for the Blue Devils of Hamburg, Germany. Yeah, as far as like how I wound up there, it's pretty simple. Played my senior year in college, which was the 99 season, And I think basically it's this. They had the German Football League over there with some of the bigger markets and, having teams that played, varying types of stadiums and stuff. But like Hamburg was a big, healthy franchise of this GFL. It was owned and operated by a big music exec. Like the team offices were in this big high-rise building in Hamburg where everybody in the offices on every floor, they were music people, like promoters, and that's what it was. Like they're putting out artists on these labels and stuff, and then like in one little corner of like the third floor is this football team that he also owns, and that's our offices where we would like get together and watch film and stuff like that. That was pretty neat. But anyhow, we played in a big stadium, and you can still see it if you turn on and watch soccer in that. I think it's called that Bundesliga stuff that comes on television, like on Fox Sports 1 on Saturdays. Every now and then they'll play a game in Hamburg. Well, that's the stadium that we played football in. I think it seats probably 50,000 or something when it's full. We never had that many for football games, but we would have sometimes 20 and 25,000 for the football games. But anyway, as far as like how it happened, our offensive line coach at State on those late 90s teams was Jerry Freeman. And Coach Freeman had a close friend and coach who was coaching on that team in Hamburg. A guy named Andrew Cox, who had been the defensive coordinator at UCF earlier in the 90s. Like for example, when Dante Culpepper was the quarterback at UCF, 97-ish, 98, right around in there, we hosted them one year. I think it was 97. We played against Culpepper. We beat him. He was phenomenal. He could put that whole team on his shoulders and carry him. We just had a better team overall. We beat them. But that particular day, Coach Cox was defensive coordinator that day for UCF. Well, by the time 99 had rolled around, he was over coaching defense for this team in Germany. He and Coach Freeman are friends. They must have been talking about it. And Coach Freeman came to me and goes, hey, I know a guy who's coaching in this German football league. It's kind of a neat deal. I mean, they pay you pretty good, you know. And is that something you would be interested in if they were interested in you? And I was like, well, sure. I think the way Coach Freeman said it to me was, you got any plans after graduation? Because, you know, like he knew I'm not going to the combine. Okay. I'm not. He's like, you got any plans after graduation? I said, not really, other than, you know, figuring out a way to scratch out some kind of living and go fishing as much as possible. I mean, I think at that time, I did at that time have dreams of getting out of college, being a pro fisherman, you know, fishing bass tournaments for a living, you know, TV shows and all that, getting sponsored. That's what I had dreams of all that. But then he said, you got an opportunity. So I talked to the coach over the phone, who was the head coach. He was this British guy named Lee Rowland. Great guy. And, you know, had kind of cut his teeth over there in the NFL Europe and some of that. And he was the head coach of this GFL team in Hamburg. Talked to him, and he's like, you know, right now we have one American QB. And he told me about how the league has a certain restriction on the number of, you know, Americans on each team so as to sort of develop people who watch football, but also people who play football in Europe. I said, okay. And anyway, did the deal. I actually kind of signed up with them. It was all via fax back then. And I signed up with them, and I had to leave and get on a plane and go over there before actual graduation took place. Like, you know, where you wear the cap and gown and walk. So I didn't go through that. I didn't do the cap and gown and walk deal. I was already over there for a couple of days. But my flight when I left was from Birmingham to Cincinnati, and then at Cincinnati got on an Air France plane, giant Air France plane, and flew from Cincinnati to Paris. And then at Paris, got on another plane, went from there to Hamburg. And when I got to the airport in Hamburg, I was picked up by one of the guys on the team. He was a linebacker for our team. His name was Danny Garcia. And Danny spoke fluent 3 languages: English, Spanish, and German. His mother was from Spain. His father was from Germany. And he learned all languages. And Danny's daytime job, like the way he was actually making a living, was he answered phones at this record company, the music business in the office, because he could talk to anybody from anywhere, right? Like speak fluent German, Spanish, English. But he was about 6'2" and about 225, and he could really run and hit. So he was our linebacker too. Well, he picked me up at the airport. And I don't know if Danny was trying to show out or what. Okay, and I'm wide-eyed from Starkville, Mississippi. And I'm in this city now, Hamburg, where the population in the city of Hamburg was like twice the population of the entire state of Mississippi. Okay, and he's weaving around through traffic like he's in the Indianapolis 500. I had to be as pale as a ghost by the time he parked that car at the football office. So I get there and I meet people, and then they do this photo shoot and all this. And then they take me to my apartment. And I was a roommate with the defensive coach, Andrew Cox, who I talked about had been at UCF. He had a big apartment, and he was the only one in there. Had plenty of rooms, had extra bedrooms. So I'm rooming with him. Well, you know, another thing that happened is before I left America, I was looking at, you know, being in an airplane for, it was like 10 hours. I think the flight from Cincinnati to Paris itself was like 10 hours. All told, you know, it's like a whole day of flying, right? Time zones are different. It's 7 hours of difference there versus here. Everything's fouled up. And somebody had given me these 2 little pills that are like sleeping pills, like to make you sleep. Okay. And it's strictly for the purpose of when you get there, you're going to want to, maybe for the first day or 2, use this to help you sleep when it is at night, even though you're going to feel like being awake because, you're not used to it. And that'll help to kind of get you on the right sleep cycle pretty quickly. So I got there and I got to the apartment. The thing is, I took both of those little sleeping pills, but I was only supposed to take one. Apparently they say, okay, these are 12-hour sleeping pills. I thought, well, both pills, you take them, you sleep for 12 hours. So no, it's 12 hours apiece. And I took them both. And quite literally, apparently, and I'm unbeknownst to me because I'm out like a light for a long time. And apparently, because Coach Cox was out of town for a couple of weeks, I was in there by myself the day I got there. I wasn't answering phones, answering the door. They tracked down a guy from out of town who used to live in that apartment, who happened to have an old spare key, and brought him into Hamburg to come over there so that they could open the doors to see if I was in there or dead or something. And he came in and found me. And so after almost a full 20-something hours of sleep, the thing that woke me up was some stranger who I'd never seen before. He was a German kid. His first name was Marcel. He was a receiver on another football team at this time. This German guy standing over me in a bed, asking me my name and am I okay? And they've been looking for me and they couldn't get in touch with me. It was wild, man. So to say that, it kind of got off to an odd start. It really did. But after that, it was cool. You just start in watching film. It was, pretty decent routine. It was different being in a strange place, at least for me. But, that time of year, like I said, I got there in May. So that time of year, weather was nice for the most part. And next thing you know, we're practicing football and start playing some games. And then the last story on that too, Chuck, I'll tell you is I learned how to, according to the people in that office and according to the people who were German and natives and our coaches who were, some of them were British, I learned how to make coffee and how not to make coffee. And prior to that, I was not really much of a coffee drinker. And one day we were in the office, we were kind of having this film marathon of doing up game plan stuff and watching film for hours and hours. And at some point, everybody was out of coffee, and I volunteered to the coaches. Okay, I'll go make some coffee. They said, okay. So I went to the kitchen, coffee maker, get it out, got the coffee, poured it in, put the water in, it starts making coffee. It finishes. We took a little break. They go into the kitchen, they make their coffee. They took one sip, and about 3 or 4 of them at once go, "What is this? This is terrible. Who made this coffee?" I said, "I did." And the head coach, Lee Rowland, he said, "Hey, come here. Let me show you how to do this." He takes a coffee, he pours it all out, right? Like throws the old away, puts a coffee filter in there, and just filled it to the brim with coffee grounds. I'm talking about, it was the coffee that was dripping out of that coffee maker was as syrupy as it was liquidy. And I'm thinking, good grief, like it ain't even see-through. It's just thick. And that's the way they were drinking their coffee. And after, I kind of learned to drink it too in the offices in there. And then after that experience, from then on, no such thin coffee would cut it, for sure. So those are a few memories for you. And fun times. I look back on it fondly. I will admit that towards the end of it, I did get really homesick after being over there for about a year, because back then, you think about it, this was 2000. Well, I didn't have a cell phone. There was no FaceTime and all that kind of stuff. So it's just, I was ready to see home and eat some fried chicken, just to be honest with you. Sven, who is in Germany, He said, that's the most important thing in Germany. Coffee in the morning. He said, black, strong, and hot. That's what I'm talking about, Sven. I mean, they coached me as a football player, those guys, and they were from all over the place. They coached me and us hard. I never got coached harder than the first day that I made coffee and fouled it up in the office. I mean, they didn't like it. And they let me know for sure. All right. Any more questions? See, look, I understand how this goes. Y'all are sometimes hesitant to ask me to tell stories because 20 minutes later, it's time to go to a break. I get it. I get it and I understand it. Ghost Rider texted the show, Country Pleasing text line, and said, sounds like Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies coffee. Is that how she made it? So thick you had to almost press it out of there. It wouldn't run out. You had to press it out of there, scoop it out with a spoon. That's good. All right. Do you realize that we are 2 weeks away from the start of the college baseball season? Good grief. Where is time gone? I thought it was still January. No, it's Groundhog Day. And baseball will be here before you know it. All right, rolling along with you in hour 2. Stick around.
Today's game from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Time was, their breakfasts were gloomy. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't know a delicious cereal could help their sad plight. So they tried this and tried that, but irregularity kept coming back all the same. For as often the case, lack of bulk in their diet was actually to blame. Once at the grocer's, the wife was so drooping and sagging that a neighbor said, "Get on Kellogg's All-Bran wagon. Why, All-Bran has a flavor that's scrumptious to eat. So rich and nut-like, makes breakfast a treat. And of course, Kellogg's All-Bran can help you each day to youthful regularity, the dietary way." "Well, it might do some good," said the wife with a sigh. "Guess I'll get some All-Bran and give it a try." Soon, breakfasts at her house were happy and bright, for delicious Kellogg's All-Bran set their day off right. Yes, All-Bran supplies all the bulk in your diet, you see, that you may need for youthful regularity. And no half-brand cereal possibly can provide this help as surely as Kellogg's All-Bran. A delicious, non-habit-forming aid to your diet. You're sure to like All-Bran. Just buy it and try it.
Get on the Kellogg's All-Bran wagon with the best bran in the land. The cereal that tastes bran, the cereal that's All-Bran, a breakfast treat that can't be beat. Be a regular guy and climb aboard the All-Bran wagon. Eat Kellogg's All-Bran.
What is the secret of this enchanted book? What wonders are hidden within its pages? What magical spell does it cast on all who read it? What is the secret of the never-ending story?
But that's impossible!
You will enter a world where a young boy's imagination becomes a vivid reality. The world of Atreyu and Artax, the Rockbiter, and a good and kind gnome. A world that is vast and eternal, treacherous and dazzling. unforgettable and free. For anyone who's ever made a wish, believed in a fantasy, or had a dream, this is the never-ending story.
It's a new thing. It's a fun thing. It's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. It's a wing wing. A brand new transparent fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now it's your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
Mazda announces some great news for truck buyers. Right now, you can beat the already outstanding value of the $67.95 Mazda SE5. Introducing Mazda SE5 Plus 5. $625 worth of extra features at no extra charge from Mazda. You get a bed liner, mud guards, sliding rear window, floor mats, and AM/FM stereo. That's a $625 value at no extra charge.
All right, back with you. Get on in here. You can text, you can call, you can comment on the live thread. Or, like I say, text me in the country, please, and text line 885-3776, or call the Davini Equipment phone line. Davini Equipment, Madison and in Jackson, your Kubota dealer. On this day, back in 19, here it is. On this day, back in 1995. So Groundhog Day, February the 2nd, 1995. The 100th episode of this show aired on NBC. Y'all know it as Seinfeld. The biggest Seinfeld fan I know, and there's a bunch of them, is a man named Beaver. Beaver has watched you've watched all the episodes, haven't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember the 100th? See,
you'll have to give me a slight hint.
Jog your memory? Okay, well, here's the deal. When I tell you this, Beaver, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Okay? Okay, because the 100th Seinfeld episode was actually a 1-hour special. Okay, so it was technically 2 episodes. It was technically episode 100 and 101, which is kind of weird. Okay, Beaver, but the other thing that was weird about it, it was season 6. It was the 14th episode or so of that season, season 6. That was the 100th overall. And do you know, Beaver, what they did for the 100th episode of Seinfeld?
Was that the clip show?
That's the clip show. All they did was show clips from the previous episodes.
Yeah.
Which I kind of wonder, like, is that really an episode? Like, we call it the 100th episode of the show, but it wasn't the only thing that was new in it was that little 50-second dialogue or monologue at the beginning where Jerry set it up and said, hey, here's what's happened so far. And it's just clips from previous shows. How do you feel about that?
Well, it makes me think of my third favorite show of all time, Scrubs.
Yeah.
On their 100th episode, they did the same thing, but they actually did it as a tribute / made a reference to Seinfeld.
Okay.
How other shows, would do clip shows to celebrate.
Which, it's the weirdest thing. That's it. So I did not know that about Scrubs, though. That's pretty cool. And Chuck says on the Murray West live thread, he loves Scrubs. It's a great show. Just great. But yeah, it's like, okay, if all you do is do a compilation of clips of the first 99 episodes, then technically, is this the 100th episode or is it? Yeah, like, it bothers me.
Yeah, I'm not for it.
I'm not either.
Now that we look back on this, I don't like it. I don't think you can call it new. So
Right.
it's the 99 and a half episode.
Exactly. So technically, what they are calling episode, because it was a 1 hour special. So they combine what they say is combining episodes 100 and 101 into one 1 hour special. So what they're saying is episode 102 was actually the next new episode after 99. I realize all of that is a big mishmash of words to most people listening. See, here's what they did. They opened episode 100 with Jerry Seinfeld on camera, no live audience, therefore no laughing, doing this right here.
Oh, hi. 100 episodes. That's a lot. During the course of which George, Elaine, Kramer, and I have had many experiences, both positive and negative. Well, mostly negative. There have been some relationships that haven't worked out, and
I mean, how weird is this that he's doing this in his apartment, but there's nobody laughing and he's talking to the camera?
missions that were unfulfilled, hopes dashed. Some property damage, hurt feelings. I know one guy got deported. Physical injury and
I mean, there's no laughing.
Maybe even a death or two. But we've persevered because we're people. Real TV people. And for 30 minutes a week, that's pretty important to us. So if you're joining us late, here's some highlights from what's happened so far.
And then he like turns on his TV. It was just the most odd thing. Okay, in the very first clip that they showed of, hey, on the home 100 episode, here's what's happened so far on Seinfeld. The very first thing they showed was kind of like the Genesis moment. And it's really like the most Seinfeld thing ever.
Why don't they have salsa on the table?
What do you need salsa for?
Salsa is now the #1 condiment in America.
Do you know why? Because people like to say salsa. Excuse me, do you have any salsa? We need more salsa. Where's the salsa? No salsa.
Yeah, it must be impossible for a Spanish person to order salsa and not get salsa.
I wanted salsa, not salsa. Don't you know the difference between salsa and salsa? You have the salsa after the salsa.
See, this should be the show. This is the show.
What?
This. Just talking.
Yeah, right.
I'm really serious. I think that's a good idea.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about?
It's about nothing.
I mean, this is what the show should be about. It should be about nothing. It's like the most Genesis. That's the first clip that they showed on episode 100. All right, that was This Day 95. This day a while back, apparently Pete Young was on the podcast, the, what's the name of it? With Joel and the Dear Old State podcast with Joel and Logan. All right, and this is for RT. RT texted the show earlier. He said, you've got to hear Pete Young on that podcast, the Dear Old State podcast, talking about his only major league at bat. So, RT, this is for you. You sent it to me. So here's that sound clip you wanted to hear from Pete Young.
Well, Pete, you did get one at bat in the major leagues. I bet you remember it back in '93. Tell me what happened in that at bat. Your one at bat in the big leagues.
Well, it's kind of funny. It's also the same game that I gave up my only home run in the big leagues, which belongs to Mississippi State legend and Ring of Honor, Will Clark.
Yeah.
And long story short, Dennis Martinez started the game, and he got in trouble, was kind of questioning the home plate umpires about what a ball and strike was, so he got thrown out of the game. And so they brought me in right away as like a long relief appearance, and I really wasn't used to it. So I came in and I pitched 2 pretty good innings, and pitcher spot was due up next, or was pretty close to coming up. And I'd already started thinking, well, they're going to hit for me. You know, we were down a little bit. I think like 4-0, something like that. But anyway, lo and behold, man, they get bases loaded, and it's time. No, actually, it was like first and second or second and third, and I'm on deck. pitcher spots on deck. And I'm like, I ain't even got a bat, glove, helmet, nothing. I mean, I don't, you know.
Yeah.
We take pictures of BP and stuff, bunt, but that's about it. And I said, 2 outs, there ain't no way I'm going to hit. Well, however it works out, got 8 hole, got walked or whatever, but got bases loaded. No, I'm sorry, bases loaded 1 out. I'm sorry, bases loaded 1 out. So I'm sitting there, you know, my mind's trickling. I'm going, well, I'm just a decoy for the other team, thinking the pitcher's going to hit, you know, and they go send a pitch hitter up for me here, you know. He walks, whatever. So now I got bases loaded, 1 out. And I look over to the dugout waiting for the pitch hitter, and Felipe Alou, their manager, he gives me the old sign, go up there and hit, boy. I said, Abby, doggone, look at here. The pitcher is struggling, and bases loaded, 1 out. He's got to throw first pitch strike right down the middle, and I'm going to hit me a grand slam. And it was against Tim Burkett. I don't know if y'all remember.
I remember.
But had a heck of a sinker running fastball, you know. Guys, I'm telling you, that pitch, it started on the outer half where I love it. So I get my arms extended, I get that barrel to it. I started my swing, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And that thing ended up right on my hand. He had run that thing in a good foot, and it hit off the handle. It hurt, and I hit a little drifter right back to the pitcher. He threw it to home. Catcher threw it to first for a 1-2-3 inning double play. There's my 1 at bat right there.
Yeah, it doesn't always. That's great, RT. Thank you so much for sending that. And to make sure I give credit, that was Pete Young on the Dear Old State podcast with Joel Coleman and Logan Lowry. It doesn't always go the way we envision it, doesn't it? Especially not in sports. Those other guys are competitors too. That's good stuff. All right. A little bit of time left with you. Another baseball season story for somebody I talked to last week, since we are 2 weeks away from the start of baseball season. Can you believe that? Anything else you want to get into also? Stick around.
Have you ever wished for one product that would clean and shine almost everything in your house? Here it is, Clean and Shine. Like magic, Clean and Shine leaves a nice shine on fine wood furniture, so you don't need furniture polish. It cleans and shines mirrors, so you don't need glass cleaner for mirrors. It cleans and shines refrigerators, like this kitchen product, even countertops, tile, and vinyl. Try new Clean and Shine, the foam that cleans and shines almost everything in your house.
Someday when people look at me, they'll say, there goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
TriStar Pictures presents Robert Redford in The Natural, the story of a father and a son.
You got a gift, Roy, but it's not enough.
Of love.
He means the world to me.
And desire.
I'm not waiting for true love to come along, Roy.
A champion.
A Roy Hobbs comes along once, maybe twice in everybody's lifetime.
And his destiny.
With or without the records, they'll remember you.
Best there is now, and best there ever will be.
I wouldn't bet against me.
I already have.
Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, Barbara Hershey, Robert Prosky, and Richard Farnsworth as Red. The Natural.
Do you know me? Would you believe I'm Bugs Bunny? I'm also the voice of many other cartoon characters. But in here, they don't care if I'm Elmer Fudd. So I carry an American Express card. The one card I need for travel and entertaining, for business and pleasure. Why, without this, the only way I'd get any attention is by saying, that's all, folks.
To apply for a card, call 800-528-8000.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
The following is a presentation of TBS Sports. Exclusively on Superstation TBS. Superstation TBS presents the Atlanta Braves, America's team. Atlanta Braves baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. This Bud's for you. By the official airline of the Atlanta Braves, Delta. We love to fly, and it shows. And by Eckerd Drugs, America's family drugstore.
If a man you've never met before suddenly gives you flowers, that's elation. The exciting new fragrance from Impulse.
Thursday, it's Cosby starting off a night of family fun. And leave it to Family Ties to keep the laughs coming.
Oh, no. What are we going to do? Everything's under control.
Then on Cheers, will Norm fink on a friend to get a promotion?
Yeah, yes, yes.
And the fun continues with Night Court.
I'm here to strip for Dan Fielding.
Thursday.
Oh, what a meal, oh,
Hamburger Helper Lasagna.
for your family.
Authentic Italian taste.
Hearty robusto, but not too spicy, eh?
Hamburger Helper Lasagna turns your plain hamburger into a delicious Italian meal with authentic Italian taste. Curly Italian noodles, rich tomato sauce, and a better blend of spices.
Hamburger helper lasagna.
All right, back with you. I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in, being a part of the show today. We got a little ways to go. Yeah, I enjoyed that story. Appreciate you sending that along, RT. That was fun. If you're just tuning in, we heard a little bit of an interview with former state baseball player Pete Young and his couple of his stories in the major leagues, giving up a home run to Will Clark and then getting to come to bat with the bases loaded and hits into a double play. They let him hit. And I'll finish it up, RT, because he did say what happened when he went back to the dugout. The first pitch he saw, he swung at it and then hit a little dribbler into a double play. And Moises Alou was his manager over there. And so this was the culmination of that comment.
Get back to the dugout. Felipe looks at me and he says, "Hey, Pete, next time that situation, you need to take some pitches." I'm like, "Yes, sir."
That's great. Good stuff. Appreciate you sending that along. It's been a fun show today. I mean, I didn't know coming into the day that we'd wind up talking as much baseball as we have, but it's been fun. So on that note, we're 2 weeks away from the start of the college baseball season here today. I thought I'd tell you a story that I heard the other day. I was talking with a guy named Adam Butler, who is he runs the Wild Turkey program, management, program for Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And Adam's a neat guy, and certainly has a cool job. He's got a really neat history. He grew up in Lawrence County, a state fan, and went to Mississippi State, and then he went to Georgia for a little while. Did a lot of work, research work. For a while, it was quail, and then became a turkey expert and kind of oversees that whole program statewide for MDWFP. Really cool, does a great job. When he was telling me about how they are big baseball fans, and so he was telling me about he and his son going to the College World Series back in 2021 to watch Mississippi State, and that being the year that they won it all, So he's telling the story about, the experience. I think he told me that at the time his son was maybe about 10 years old. I think somewhere in there. And so Adam said he and his son, they go to Omaha, they're kind of soaking it all in, and the trip and stay in and spend a good bit of money and all that kind of stuff. And go to the concession stand, and eat food and all this. He said, and so they're sitting there, his young son, they're sitting there and they're watching State play Virginia. Virginia is playing well, get off to a good start. They're no-hitting State for a while in this game. He said, and his son started saying, Dad, I want to go and get one of these College World Series hats up there they had by the concession stand. He said, and I'm thinking, okay, listen, we've spent enough money. It's time for me to sort of throw a little discipline into this experience for him. We can't just buy everything we want to buy. So I tell him, no, we're not going to get one of those. And I'm thinking it's going to be $40. I'm not going up there and getting that hat. He's already got a bunch of hats. He said, well, every 4 or 5 pitches, his son was asking him, Dad, can I please go get one of those hats? No, is the answer. On and on. He said, well, this went on for 3 or 4 innings, and Virginia's up like 4-0 or something. State's getting no hit. It's boring. They don't have any base runners. He goes, and this is what Adam said. He said, look, I've been a State fan long enough to know this is what happens. We make a little run, go win a game or 2, and then we get beat. We go home, and here we go. Right? So I'm thinking, all right, I've had just about enough of this game, and I've had just about enough of hearing the same question over and over from my youngin' here who just wants to get one of these hats. And because he says, the little boy looks at him and says, Dad, listen, it's not about getting a hat to wear. It's a keepsake. He said, so he's thinking, okay, all right, fine. He says, all right, fine, you wore me down, let's go. He said, so we get up, we walk to the concession stand up there, go to the little vendor next to it. He picks out the hat with the College World Series logo on the front of it. We pay for it. We walk back to our seats. We sit back down. He says, by this time, State's gotten a couple of base runners. First time in a ball game. He says, my son looks up at me and goes, Dad, I think I'm going to wear this hat. He said, I'm thinking, I thought we were buying this for a keepsake. Now he wants to wear it. Okay, fine, whatever. Little boy takes his College World Series hat, takes his State hat off, puts his College World Series hat on. He said, Adam said, the second that my son put that College World Series hat on his head, Tanner Allen hit a home run over the right field wall. And State went ahead by a run. The thing busted open. They won the game. He said, my son is convinced to this day that was the lucky hat that changed the whole thing. He said he wore it every pitch of every inning for the rest of that College World Series. And he said, their story, their memory of the College World Series is that they changed the momentum in the Virginia game by putting on the right hat. And if you ever wonder how some of us become superstitious, there's a pretty good example. You put that hat on and then bing, there it goes. I knew it. I really appreciated that story. Thousands of others like it, I'm sure. And there'll be thousands more like it too. Just this year, starting in 2 weeks, there'll be all kinds of memories that are made. And that's probably the best thing about all of it, really, to be honest with you. A couple of things before we run out of time here that we need to get on the plate. First of all, today, February the 2nd, is not only Groundhog Day, it is also National Tater Tot Day.
Pauline, give me some of your tots.
No, go find your own.
Come on, give me some of your tots.
No, I'm freaking starved. I didn't get to eat anything today.
Napoleon. Give me some. So eat some tater tots for me. I like the tater tots that come from Bulldog Burger. There's a free plug, but that's just the truth. And then the other thing is this. Denzel, I had not seen it, but White Denzel, who started the show today, sending me a topic that was really, really interesting and is now ending the show, sending me a topic that looks to be really, really interesting. Looks like a tweet from the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, that says, news, SEC and Big Ten announced the formation of a joint advisory group of university presidents, chancellors, and ADs to address significant challenges facing college athletics and opportunities for the betterment of the student-athlete experience. Now, there's a link that you can go read about it. If you want to do that, it's over at SEC Sports. I'll give you the high points. But the news came out today. They put that tweet out there a couple of hours ago. The story says the Big Ten Conference and the Southeastern Conference today announced the formation of a joint advisory group of presidents, chancellors, ADs, address the challenges facing athletics and opportunities betterment of the student-athlete experience. These challenges, including but not limited to recent court decisions, pending litigation, a patchwork of state laws, and complex governance proposals, compel the two conferences to take a leadership role in developing solutions for a sustainable future of college sports. Now, Denzel, your comment was, here comes the power two, right? Quote from Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti, the Big Ten and the SEC have substantial investment in the NCAA, and there is no question that the voices of our two conferences are integral to governance and reform. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey said, there are similar cultural and social impacts on our student athletes, our institutions, our communities because of the new collegiate athletics environment. We don't expect to agree on everything, but enhancing interaction between our conferences will help to focus efforts on common sense solutions. The advisory group will have no authority to act independently, will only serve as a consulting body. Its composition, charter, and timetable, as well as the specific questions it might examine, have yet to be determined. So here's the thing. It's not much, okay, but it is a step in the right direction. That's what it is, which is the two biggest, powerful that have, conferences that have the most money and the biggest bat. Get in the same room and put your heads together. And where they need to start is this. Revenue sharing from the standpoint of money that is set aside and available to athletes who participate in games in a revenue sport during their college career. But we're not going to be loading them up with money, paying them to play via even third-party collectives before they even get here or before they've even earned a starting spot, and all this kind of stuff. We're not doing that. It'll be available to them when they graduate. It must be tied to an education model. Now, anything that happens outside of that, we're going to hire and pay for an enforcement arm. And if there's a combination of 32 teams between the two conferences, frankly, an enforcement arm there can do a whole lot more with that as opposed to trying to look over 120 teams. And so it's not much, but it's a step in the right direction. Thanks for sending that, Denzel. Appreciate you. I appreciate Beaver. I appreciate you for listening. Everybody being a part of the show. It's been a great week, and we'll do it again on Monday. Have a great weekend for all of us here in the Bureau. See you Monday. See you.